We often talk about the news when things get tough, and we should, but it's just as important to talk about the news when things start to get better. Today, we are talking about a significant positive shift in Ghana's economy, a sign that the tough policy decisions and collective resilience may finally be paying off. This week, the Ghana Statistical Service announced that the annual inflation rate has eased dramatically to a single digit, which is 9.4% in September 2025. This isn't just a slight dip, it is a major drop from the 11.5% recorded in August and crucially marks the 9th consecutive months of decline.
In September, inflation stood at 9.4%, down from 11.5% in August.
To put this in perspective, we haven't seen inflation this low in over 2 years. Now, let's get all the analysis from government statistician Mr. Alhassan Idrisu on what's driving this decline.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, and all Ghanaians joining us. Today, I present Ghana's Consumer Price Index and inflation figures for September 2025. These are more than numbers. They shape the cost of living for households, guide the choices of businesses, and inform the decisions government makes for our economy. Let me begin with the headline figures. In September, inflation stood at 9.4%, down from 11.5% in August, and far below the 23.8% we recorded in December last year. This is the lowest rate in 4 years, and the 9th consecutive month of decline. Month on month, prices rose by 0.9% between August and September. This means prices are still edging upward, but at a much slower pace than before. Let's break this down further. Food inflation dropped to 11%, down from 14.8% in August. This is important because food takes up the largest share of household spending. Non-food inflation also eased, now at 8.2% compared to 8.7% last month. Looking at goods and services, inflation for goods slowed to 11.2%, down from 13.9% in August, while services eased to 4.8%, down from 5.4% in August. Since goods make up nearly 3/4 of the basket, this decline provides real relief to households. By origin, locally produced goods remain more expensive than imports. Local inflation stood at 10.1%, down from 12.2% in August, while imported goods fell more sharply to 7.4% from 9.5% in August. The stronger cedi and lower global prices could be driving the easing import costs, while domestic supply challenges could be influencing the relatively higher inflation for local items. Inflation is not the same across the country. The Northeast region recorded the highest rates at 20.1%, while Bono East had the lowest at just 1.2%. Big regions such as Greater Accra and Ashanti recorded moderate rates, but because of their size, they contribute most to the national inflation of 9.4%. These differences remind us that supply conditions and transport costs matter greatly. What is driving inflation today? The biggest factor is food, as its sharp inflation decline is pulling inflation down. But at the same time, housing, utilities, and transport costs are putting fresh pressure on households in the short term. This mixed picture means we must stay vigilant.
This sustained disinflationary trend did not go unnoticed by the Bank of Ghana. In a bold and confident move last month, the Bank of Ghana slashed its main policy rate by a record of 350 basis points to 21.5%. This was a clear sign that the bank is seeing what we are seeing today, a sustainable decline that points towards an improving macroeconomic outlook. They are effectively declaring that the worst of the crisis is likely behind us. So, what does this really mean for the average Ghanaian and the economy? First, it means breathing room. A lower inflation rate means the cedi in your pocket isn't losing its value as rapidly. Your purchasing power is slowly being restored. It is a foundational step towards economic recovery. Second, it signals confidence. The central bank's aggressive rate cut is designed to make borrowing cheaper for businesses. This can stimulate investment, expansion, and job creation. It is an attempt to shift from a period of stabilization to a period of growth. And third, it provides a roadmap. The Bank of Ghana has a clear medium-term target to bring inflation firmly within the 6 to 10% band by the end of this year, 2025. The progress we are seeing now suggests that this target is achievable. As the government statistician stated, this is a sustainable shift pointing towards macroeconomic stability. For a nation rich in gold, oil and cocoa, emerging from its worst economic crisis in a generation, this is more than just a number. It is a beacon of hope. The path ahead still requires discipline, but for the first time in a long time, the destination is coming clearly into view. And that is all for today's episode. Thank you very much for watching. Have a joyful life and see you in the next one. Mackerel.